Yeah, thank you, sir. Namaskar. Sir, I welcome the initiative taken by Disha, which is an innovative scheme for creating legal awareness. Because in law, we says ignorance of law is no excuse. So लॉ का ज्ञान सभी को होना चाहिए और किस लॉ के अंदर इम्प्लीमेंट हो रहा है उनकी उनके लिए दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. So my topic here is the role of PCPNDT cell in implementation of the PCPNDT Act. Next slide. सर ये पीसीपीएनडीटी एक्ट को बने हुए 25 साल हो चुके हैं एंड वी हैव कम अ लॉन्ग वे एंड ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैज बीन इंस्ट्रूमेंटल इन पासिंग द मेजर जजमेंट्स फॉर द implementation of the act. In fact, in 2018 there was a major judgment passed by the honorable Supreme Court for implementation. The PCPNDT Act was incorporated in 1994 and was amended in 2003 to include preconception before the name of PNDT because पहले सिर्फ प्रीनेटल डायग्नोस्टिक टेक्निक्स को माना जाता था बट लेटर ऑन जब नई टेक्निक्स इन्वॉल्व होनी शुरू हो गई दैट इज द प्री कंसेप्शन कंसेप्शन से पहले जैसे आईवीएफ टेक्निक या एआईटी जो है क्लिनिक्स आर्टिफिशियल रिप्रोडक्शन तो उसको भी इंक्लूड हमने इसमें किया. Include the prohibition of sex selection before and conception, also regulate. So this PCPNDT Act is basically, so you are changing the slide. So the center, so PCPNDT एक central legislation है पर इसकी implementation state से होती है. पूरा procedure is through the appropriate authorities, district authorities and sub-district authorities who are instrumental in implementing this act. Yes, next slide, sir. So next slide, please. Sir, I think my system में change नहीं हो रहा. I'm sorry. The second slide. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. So salient features. So there is. Yes, sir. So PCPNDT is basically the for regulation of the machines, prohibition of sex selection, regulation of the ultrasonography machines, and prevention of use of machines for illegal use. Illegal use is the determination of sex, which is done. The sex, what's that? Isme advertisement in relation to such techniques for detection of determination of sex under Section 22. Now, so Section 22 was pending before the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has passed an order where the nodal officers have been appointed to look into online advertisements. If any violation is found in online advertisement, that is reported to the search engines to be removed. In fact, Supreme Court has passed an order to advertise so that general public can inform to the nodal officer so that actions can be taken. So इसमें आम जनता को भी इन्वॉल्व किया गया है कि अगर कोई वॉलेशन फाउंड इज हैपनिंग दे शुड इन्फॉर्म इट टू द नोडल एजेंसी. The facilities providing preconception are capable of determining sex under Section 18. The maintenance of records. Now, maintenance of records is a very important part, which was decided by the Supreme Court also in the Foxy judgment. Another is search and seizure and sealing powers. So these are the powers given to the appropriate authorities, which are equivalent to the powers of a magistrate. Yes, sir. Next slide, sir. So this is a flow chart which clearly shows how PC and PNDT operate. So at the top level, it is the Central Supervisory Board. The Central Supervisory Board is headed by the Honorable HFM, Honorable Minister of Minister, Health Minister, and after that it is the WCD and the Ministry of Law are also involved. So that at the state level, there is a State Supervisory Board, and under the Supervisory Board, there is a State Appropriate Authority. Now, sir, all the implementation is done by the State Appropriate Authority and district and sub-district authorities. So these are the people who are instrument in implementing the act. सर इनफैक्ट इसमें अब हमारे सेलर्स जो हैं जो अल्ट्रासाउंड मशीन्स जो बेचते हैं उनका भी इन्वॉल्वमेंट है वी दे हैव टू गिव दे कैन नॉट सेल अ मशीन टू एनी पर्सन who is not registered under the act. So anybody who wants to buy a machine has to get registered under the PCPNDT Act, and only then he can get a machine of ultrasonography. Yeah. The next slide, sir. Next slide, please. This is the last one. I think so. My system is slow. The earlier one. Center Supervisory Board. The Center Supervisory Board has the powers to advise central government on policy matters and to review and monitor the implementation of the act and to create a public awareness. Now, this is a very important part of creating a public awareness which has to be overlooked by the Center Supervisory Board and the State Supervisory Boards. To lay down the code of conduct for the persons working in the clinic and to oversee the performance of various bodies working under the Act. So the various bodies who are working under the Act are the appropriate authorities and the district authorities and the sub-district authorities which have to report to the to the CSB. Next slide, sir. The appropriate authority, the appropriate authority has the following functions to, to issue licenses under the Act, to enforce the standards prescribed by the genetic counseling centers, to investigate the complaints, to take appropriate legal action against the use of sex selection techniques, to create public awareness, to supervise the implementation of the Act, and to recommend the board the changes in the rule depending on the change in the technology. Next slide, sir. Sir, the appropriate authority has been given abundant power. They have the power to summon the person in possession of any information relating to the violation of the Act, production of any document, material object, issue of search warrants. Appropriate authority is also empowered to suo motu, of its own, investigate the matter and to file a complaint against the genetic counseling centers and clinics. The appropriate authority is also suo motu empowered to suspend the registration in the public interest. So appropriate authority has been given abundant powers and they are notified under the Act to take every action which is required to prevent the misuse of the technology or in case there is any sex determination happening in the state. Next slide, sir. So the appropriate authority works on the advice of the advisory committee. In case there is any issue which the appropriate authority is not able to decide or it is objected by, then the advice of the advisory committee is sought. An advisory committee is constituted in every state and it is made for 3 years and every 3 years it is remade. And they have to take the action on the recommendation of the advisory committee. And committee, after investigation of the complaint, can suspend or cancel the registration of the PC, any center which is registered under the PC and PNDT Act. Yes, next slide, sir. So these are the amendments in the rules which have been made over the period of 25 years to simplify the implementation and to make it strict. So like Rule 11.2 was amended in 2011, where any unregistered machine which is found will be confiscated by the appropriate authorities. Rule 3B was inserted in 2012 to regulate the use of portable machines. Now these portable machines were used for determining the sex of a fetus and they were being used out of the hospital. So we have regulated the use of those machines कि उनको कहाँ पे use करना है. Rule 3A, Rule 3A3 was inserted in 2012. Now this is a rule where the registration is issued to the medical doctors in not more than 2 districts. इसमें the issues which were highlighted by the under the violation of the act was that these doctors were doing registration under so many districts and they were not available at a place where the test was conducted. So this was a major issue and still it is a major issue whether they should work at more than 2 districts or they should be restricted to 2 districts. And Rule 5.1 was amended in 2012 so as to enhance the fees. Rule 13 was amended in 2012 to for the registered medical centers to intimate the change in the name of employee, place, anything which has been done because the machine is registered in the name of a doctor. And in case the is not available function, the registration shall stand deleted from the book. The next slide, please. (11.2). So this Rule 331B. So Rule 331B was incorporated in 2014. This is a very important rule which is under challenge before the Supreme Court and SLP is still pending before the Supreme Court. So this pertains to the MBBS doctors who can conduct 6-month training. Revised Form F. So, Form F is a very important document for detecting the offences incurred under the Act because as per the Form F, all the information has to be recorded and in case there is any discrepancy in the information received in Form F, that can be presumed that the offence has been committed by the center. Rule 18A. Now, Rule 18A was inserted in 2014. It lays down the code of conduct for the appropriate authorities, how the appropriate authorities shall function and what are the and how so that the act can be uniformly implemented in all the states. Rule 19A. Rule 19A was inserted in 2017. This pertains to the appeal. In case anybody is aggrieved by the order passed by the appropriate authority, he has the right to appeal against the order of the appropriate authority. Rule 5 was amended in 2017. In this, the government hospitals were exempted from depositing the fees. 6-month training rules is again that 2014 they were made and still it is pending before the Supreme Court. Next slide, please. Judgments passed by the Supreme Court. Now, these are the very important judgments which have been passed by the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has been instrumental in passing the orders for the implementation of the Act. The Voluntary Health Association of Punjab versus Union of India is the major judgment where the Supreme Court has laid down the directions for the ministry to comply with. Similarly, this is the Foxy versus Union of India, the Federation of Obstetrics Gynecology Society of India, where the maintenance of records was held to be very important, and it was also held that there is no major or minor offences. All the offences are equal. In case there is any offence committed, the punishment should be given. SLP filed by the Union of India. This is with regard to 6-month training rule 331B, which was declared ultra vires by the High Court of Delhi. Union of India has challenged this order of the High Court and received a favorable stay order against that order. Now, Sehok versus Union of India. This is the oldest. This is the case which was filed in 2003 for the implementation of Act, where the NIMC was created. Now, NIMC is a National Inspection Monitoring Committee constituted by the central government to look into the implementation of the act, and the Supreme Court specifically mentioned that NIMC will continue to work till PCPNDT Act is implemented. Next slide, sir. Monitoring. This is a very important aspect. Now, regular monitoring is done through NIMC. NIMC is the National Inspection Monitoring Committee constituted under the order of the Supreme Court. Observations and recommendations of the NIMC team are communicated to the concerned authorities for necessary action. NIMC was constituted under the order passed in Sehat versus Union of India. Sehat is Center for Inquiry in Health and Allied Themes versus Union of India in 2003. Review of the meetings were conducted. Sir, every year the review is conducted, annual review is conducted on the states, how the PCPNDT is being implemented in the states, and what is the update, and what are the good steps that have been taken by the states are informed. Online mechanism of record keeping has been developed. Now the ministry has developed a mechanism where all the records can be maintained online. Online sex selection advertisement being monitored by the nodal agency. Section 22 of the PC and PNDT Act bars the advertisement online, bars any advertisement, and in fact there is some online advertisement is there that is also barred, and the nodal agency has been constituted by the Ministry of Health under the order of the court. Next slide, please. Capacity building and sensitization. Now, this is also done under the order passed by the Supreme Court, and the ministry has been doing it for last 15 years. Hands-on training conducted on standard operating guidelines for the districts, appropriate authorities, and PNDT nodal officers. Capacity building and training workshop for the district appropriate authorities, PND nodal officers are conducted regularly. Central government is rendering the financial support for the implementation of the implementation structure under NHM, dedicated PNDT cell, capacity building, monitoring, and advocacy campaigns. The orientation and sensitization of judicial officers and the public prosecutors. Now, this is very important because all the matters, all the complaints which are filed before the court have to be handled by the judicial officer, and sensitization of the judicial officer with respect to the issue involved in the gender bias and gender discrimination is very important. So this sensitization program is a regular which is conducted through National Judicial Academy and state judicial academies. Next slide. IEC activities. Now, IEC activities is also being conducted under the order passed by the Supreme Court in various matters. Supreme Court is very instrumental in implementation of the act, and they have always been ordering the central government to issue advertisements with regard to the Section 22 violation and other changes. States are directed to plan appropriate behavior change communication campaign and effective awareness generation program relating to PCPNDT. Potential of print, electric, and mass media, including social media leverage. Central assistance for behavior change and communication. So IEC activity is being carried out under the order passed by the Supreme Court. But still, I think it is a very long way to go. Despite all the orders passed by the Supreme Court, the ministry is implementing, and still it is a long way to go to make a behavioral change so that PCPNDT is implemented in all the states. Thank you, sir.